12 Brutal life lessons nobody teach you. 1. Life is unfair. We enter this world with the subtle belief that life should make sense, that there is some invisible law of fairness governing the way things unfold. As children, we are told that if we do good, good will follow. If we obey, we will be rewarded. If we work hard, success is inevitable. Yet as we grow, this illusion cracks. We witness cruelty go unpunished, effort unrewarded, and love unreturned. At first, this feels like betrayal, but the truth is simpler and far more liberating. Life was never designed to be fair. Fairness is a human construct, a story we weave to soothe ourselves in a chaotic universe. Nature itself offers no such promise. The storm does not ask if it is fair before it floods the village. The lion does not hesitate to eat the gazelle because it worked hard to survive. The seed that sprouts in fertile soil thrives, while another, equally full of potential, dries on the rock. There is no judgment in this, only the way of things. The moment you stop demanding fairness, something extraordinary happens. You stop waiting for the world to adjust to your expectations, and you begin adjusting yourself to the world. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you begin to ask, "Now what?" This shift changes the very energy of your life. What once felt like an insult becomes a challenge. What once felt like tragedy becomes a test of your strength. This is not to say that we should abandon justice or compassion. Human beings must strive for fairness among each other, for society cannot stand without it. But on the cosmic level, fairness is not guaranteed. The rain falls on both the farmer's field and the barren stone. The sun shines on the just and the unjust alike. Recognizing this removes the weight of disappointment. Life's unfairness, if understood deeply, is strangely freeing. Because if you accept that the game is not balanced, you also accept that nothing is stopping you from bending the rules, from trying the impossible, from creating something out of nothing. It removes the illusion that success is owed to anyone. It is not, and so you stop waiting for the world to give you permission. The unfairness of life, then, is not a curse but a liberation. It means you are not bound by invisible contracts. It means you are free to act, to move, to create, without expecting the universe to hand you equal rewards. When you let go of the need for fairness, you stop being a victim of circumstance and begin to be the author of your own circumstance. So the first great lesson is not one of despair, but of awakening. Life is unfair, and that is precisely why you are free to live it fully. 2. True freedom is time. We are often taught to equate freedom with money. The story goes, if only you had enough wealth, you could live as you please. And so people spend decades in pursuit of financial security, only to discover that while their bank account has grown, their time has quietly vanished. What use is a mountain of gold if you are too exhausted, too old, or too occupied to enjoy it? True freedom is not found in the number of digits in your account, but in the number of hours you can claim as your own. Freedom is the ability to wake in the morning and ask yourself, "What shall I do with this day?" and to answer honestly, without chains of obligation binding you to what you do not love. Consider how strange it is. A person may earn millions, yet still live as a prisoner of their schedule, enslaved by demands, meetings, and expectations. They are wealthy in possessions, but impoverished in time. Meanwhile, another person of modest means may walk slowly through the park at noon, unhurried, breathing freely, answering to no one. By society's measures, the first is rich, but in the deeper sense, the second holds the greater treasure. This is why freedom cannot be bought outright. Money can purchase convenience, but it cannot purchase peace of mind. It can buy leisure activities, but not the state of leisure itself. It can surround you with luxury, but not deliver the simple joy of choosing your own rhythm. Time, and how you live it, is the ultimate wealth. Yet here lies the paradox. Most people trade away their time in the pursuit of money, believing one day they will buy back the very hours they sacrificed. But life is not a bank where time deposits can be withdrawn later. The present moment is all you ever truly own. To spend your whole life preparing to live is to never live at all. True freedom then begins with an inner decision. It is the courage to value your time above society's applause, above accumulation, above endless striving. For when you command your hours, you command your life, and in that command, you discover what wealth was always meant to be. Not ownership of things, but ownership of yourself. 3. No one owes you a chance. It is comforting to believe that if you work hard enough, if you polish your talent until it shines, the world will reward you. We imagine life as a marketplace where effort is fairly exchanged for opportunity. But the reality is far less sentimental. No one is waiting with open hands to give you a chance. You may be brilliant, disciplined, and overflowing with potential. But this alone guarantees nothing. The world is busy, distracted, often indifferent. Talent without initiative is like a seed locked away in a drawer, full of possibility, but never allowed to sprout. The harsh truth is that life does not hand out invitations. If you wish for an opening, you must be willing to carve it yourself. This is why so many dreams wither. People wait for recognition, for someone to notice their effort, for a gatekeeper to say, "Now it's your turn." But waiting is a silent killer. It gives away your power to circumstances beyond your control. You must remember, doors are not gifts. They are built, forced open, or sometimes smashed through with persistence. Consider the greatest artists, thinkers, and innovators of history. None of them were granted a path neatly laid before them. They faced rejection, indifference, and countless closed doors. What separated them was not simply brilliance, but a refusal to wait. They knocked, they insisted, they created their own stages when none were offered. This is not a call to bitterness, but to responsibility. If no one owes you a chance, then you are free from the illusion of entitlement. Your worth is not diminished by the world's silence. It simply means the world has yet to hear you clearly. Instead of asking for permission, you begin to create conditions where your work cannot be ignored. It may feel unfair, but remember, fairness is not the law of life. The universe is not obligated to recognize you. Yet within this reality lies a hidden gift. If no one owes you a chance, then you owe no one an excuse. The power to act, to try, to build rests entirely with you. So stop waiting for the world to hand you opportunity. It won't, but that is precisely what makes your journey powerful. Because every door you open will be one you opened yourself. 4. Busy, productive. One of the most dangerous illusions in modern life is the worship of busyness. People wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, filling their schedules until every hour is crammed with movement. They rush from one task to another, never pausing, convinced that constant activity must mean progress. But motion is not the same as direction, and being busy is not the same as being productive. To be busy is simple. You can clutter your day with emails, meetings, errands, endless little tasks that feel important but change nothing. Busyness gives the comforting sense that you are doing something, when in reality you may simply be running in circles. It is like treading water, lots of effort, no forward movement. Productivity, however, is something altogether different. It is the art of doing less but doing it with focus. It is identifying the few actions that actually move your life forward and letting go of the distractions that only make noise. Why do we fall into the trap of busyness? Because busyness feels safe. True productivity requires making choices, cutting away the unnecessary, and confronting the uncomfortable work that actually matters. To reply to emails or shuffle papers feels easier than facing the single daunting task that could genuinely transform your future. In this way, busyness becomes a form of avoidance, a mask for procrastination. Think of a sculptor. He does not strike the marble at random, hitting it as many times as possible. He studies the stone, chooses each strike carefully, and removes only what does not belong. In the same way, productivity is not about how much you do, but about how deliberately you act. 10 focused minutes can achieve more than 10 distracted hours. The danger of confusing busyness with productivity is that it drains your life. You may spend years running tirelessly and discover you never moved closer to your true goals. You were busy surviving, not living. And when the years are gone, no one will care how many hours you spent in frantic motion. They will only remember what you actually built. So let busyness go, slow down, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now moving me toward what truly matters? If not, step away. The world does not reward the busiest. It rewards those who dare to focus on what counts. 5. The critics on the sidelines. It is an odd truth of life that those who do the least often speak the loudest. Step onto the stage, attempt something new, risk failure in public, and suddenly the chorus of critics awakens. They sit safely in the stands, far from the heat of the game, and yet they shout instructions, judgments, and condemnations at those who dare to try. Their words sting because they strike from the shadows, costing them nothing while costing you everything if you let them. But pause for a moment and notice who these voices belong to. Rarely do the ones who are building, creating, or risking their own skin stop to mock others. The painter busy with his canvas does not sneer at another artist's brushstroke. The climber scaling the cliff has no time to jeer at those below. Criticism, when it is cheap and loud, almost always comes from the sidelines, from those too afraid to enter the arena themselves. The danger lies not in their noise, but in your belief in it. If you give their words weight, you will begin to shrink, to doubt, to abandon the very path that frightened them into speaking, for that is what criticism often is, fear in disguise. When people see you attempt something they secretly wish they had the courage to do, your effort becomes a mirror of their own inaction. Instead of facing that truth, they attack the mirror. This does not mean all criticism is useless. A wise traveler listens when someone who has walked the road points out the dangers ahead. Feedback from those with experience is not an obstacle but a gift. The difference is simple. One voice speaks from involvement, the other from avoidance. Learn to tell them apart, and so the lesson is clear. Do not let the volume of the crowd drown out the quiet wisdom of your own direction. The critics on the sidelines will always be there, shouting, pointing, mocking. But remember, they are not in the game, you are. Their words will fade, your actions will remain. So continue to play, to try to build. For the world belongs not to those who watch, but to those who dare to enter the arena. 6. Money is not everything. From a young age, we are taught to chase money as if it were the single measure of life's worth. Every 20-year-old dreams of wealth, believing that if only they could hold enough in their hands, the rest of existence would unfold effortlessly. Yet, if you sit with those who have already scaled that mountain, you will hear a different story. The millionaire, surrounded by possessions, often gazes backward, not forward, longing for something money cannot buy: time, vitality, youth. This paradox reveals itself again and again. The young crave money, while the wealthy crave the years they can never retrieve. It is a cruel irony that by the time you can afford comfort, you may have already traded away the freshness of life itself. Money, of course, is not evil. It is necessary. It buys food, shelter, medicine, safety, but its power is limited. It can purchase a bed, but not sleep. It can buy company, but not genuine love. It can fill your calendar with entertainment, but not grant you joy in the silence of your own heart. Those who mistake wealth for meaning eventually find themselves restless, for the hunger they sought to fill was never physical but spiritual. And yet, many spend their years in a blind race, postponing happiness until the bank account looks a certain way. They tell themselves, one day when I am rich, then I will rest, then I will love, then I will live. But life does not wait for your financial milestones. The sun sets whether you are wealthy or poor. The seasons turn and the years disappear. To see money clearly is to place it in its rightful place, as a tool, not a master. It is meant to serve your life, not consume it. Seek it enough to meet your needs, but do not let it replace the deeper riches: health, youth, love, purpose, and the freedom of time. For when the final day comes, no one asks, how much did you make? They ask, did you live? Did you love? Did you give yourself fully to the short and mysterious gift of being alive? 7. One step at a time. When we first look at a mountain, the mind is overwhelmed. Its height, its scale, the sheer distance between where we stand and where we wish to be feels impossible. This is the same with any great dream or challenge in life. When seen in its entirety, it paralyzes us. The weight of the journey makes us believe we cannot even begin. But here is the quiet secret. Mountains are not climbed in leaps. They are conquered one step at a time. No climber stands at the base staring endlessly at the peak. They lower their gaze to the earth beneath their feet and they begin. The journey is never carried out in its vastness, but always in its small increments. This principle applies to every area of life. You do not become wise overnight. Wisdom comes from one conversation, one mistake, one insight at a time. You do not build strength in a single day. You return to the practice again and again until your body reshapes itself. Even love grows this way, not as an instant explosion, but as a series of moments, gestures, and shared experiences that weave a bond. The trouble is that we live in a culture addicted to immediacy. We want results without the journey, success without the patience, transformation without the process. And so, when we see how far the mountain rises, we lose heart. We compare our beginnings to someone else's middle, and decide that because the peak is not yet in sight, the climb is hopeless. But the mountain does not ask you to leap to the top. It asks only for the next step, and then the next. Slowly, steadily, the peak that once seemed distant begins to draw near. The miracle is not in the speed, but in the persistence. So do not be crushed by the scale of your ambitions. Do not let the size of the dream silence your first move. Keep your eyes on the ground before you, take the step available to you now, and trust that the path will unfold as you walk it. For in the end, the mountain is climbed not by those who dream of the summit, but by those who remember to move, one step at a time. 8. Success and failure are both temporary. Human beings cling to labels, success and failure, as if they were permanent stamps carved into our identity. We achieve something and believe we have finally arrived, or we stumble and convince ourselves that we are doomed to remain fallen. Yet when you look closely, both success and failure share the same truth. They are temporary states, passing moments in the endless flow of life. Success, for all its sweetness, can be dangerous when misunderstood. Many people mistake a single victory for a final destination. They build their identity around an achievement, wearing it like a crown. But time moves on. Yesterday's triumph fades into memory, and clinging to it blinds you with pride. You become trapped in the illusion that who you were in that one moment is who you must always be. But life is not static, it is movement. To hold on to success is to miss the next unfolding chapter. Failure, too, carries its illusions. We fall, we are rejected, we lose. And in that pain, we assume it will last forever. Failure whispers, "This is who you are," as if a single chapter defines the entire book. Yet failure is nothing more than feedback, a temporary storm that passes if you keep walking. To drown in it is to mistake the weather for the climate. When you realize both success and failure are impermanent, life takes on a different flavor. You no longer fear defeat so intensely, because you know it will not last. You no longer cling to victory so tightly, because you know it too will pass. Instead, you begin to live in the flow itself, the act of creating, learning, trying, becoming. This truth is liberating. It means you are not your victories nor your defeats. You are the one who moves through them, unchanged at the core. To walk this path is to step out of the seesaw of pride and despair, and into the deeper rhythm of life, where every success and every failure is simply another wave rising and falling on the ocean of your being. So celebrate success, but do not worship it. Learn from failure, but do not wear it as a name. Both will come and go, but you remain, always more than the sum of what happens to you. 9. Balance is not the goal. We are often told to find balance, as if life were a set of scales that could be perfectly aligned once and for all. We imagine a point of calm equilibrium where work, love, health, ambition, and rest fit together in flawless symmetry. But balance in reality is never a permanent state. It is fleeting, shifting, always in motion, more like standing on a wave than standing on solid ground. Think of a dancer. Their beauty does not come from freezing in a balanced pose, but from constant adjustment, a graceful sway from one side to another. Life mirrors this dance. To seek balance as a final destination is to miss the very movement that makes living rich. Balance is not a trophy to be won. It is a rhythm to be felt. The trouble is, we often mistake imbalance for failure. We feel guilty when work demands more of us for a season, or when love pulls us away from ambition, or when rest takes precedence over productivity. But imbalance is not a mistake. It is simply the ebb and flow of existence. Just as tides rise and fall, so too do our energies and priorities. To resist this truth is to fight the very nature of life. Rather than striving for perfect balance, seek experiences that add depth and meaning. There will be times when work consumes you, but if that work aligns with your soul, it will not feel wasted. There will be times when love demands your full attention, and in those moments, imbalance is the most human thing of all. And there will be times when solitude, reflection, or even stillness take the lead, reminding you that growth often happens in silence. True fulfillment does not come from carefully arranging your life into neat compartments. It comes from embracing the seasons, from knowing when to lean in and when to let go. A fulfilling life looks messy on the surface. It bends, it stretches, it shifts, but beneath it all runs a current of meaning. So do not exhaust yourself chasing the illusion of perfect balance. Instead, dance with the imbalance. Let life sway you, shape you, and move you, for balance is not the goal. It is the brief, beautiful pause that arises naturally when you are fully alive in the moment. 10. Loyalty cannot be controlled. Human beings crave loyalty. We long for friends who never betray us, partners who never leave, colleagues who remain steadfast no matter the storm. And so we try, often unconsciously, to control the loyalty of others, through expectation, obligation, or even guilt. Yet the harder we grip, the more fragile loyalty becomes, for loyalty, in its truest form, cannot be forced. It is not owed, not guaranteed, not something we can command from another soul. If you look closely, you will see that loyalty is simply the natural response of alignment. When two people share values, vision, or love, loyalty arises effortlessly. But when the bond begins to fracture, no amount of pressure can restore what has already shifted. Trying to secure another's loyalty is like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. For if you cannot control the loyalty of others, then you need not waste your life chasing it. The only loyalty you can truly rely on is your own. Your loyalty to yourself, to your values, to the deeper truth of who you are. When that commitment is unshakable, the comings and goings of others hurt less. Their betrayal may wound you, but it cannot destroy you. This does not mean that loyalty from others is meaningless. It is one of life's greatest gifts when freely given. A loyal friend, a devoted partner, a steadfast companion, these are treasures. But the key word is gift. To expect loyalty as an entitlement is to misunderstand its nature. It must be chosen, not demanded, and so the task is not to control others, but to cultivate yourself. Live in such a way that your loyalty to your own principles remains intact, regardless of circumstance. Treat others with respect, offer honesty, and stand by your own word. Then, if loyalty comes from others, accept it with gratitude. If it fades, release it with grace, for in the end, the deepest security is not found in the promises of others, but in the unwavering bond you keep with yourself. That is the one form of loyalty life can never take from you. 11. Be brave enough to be bad. Most people never attempt new things, not because they lack the desire, but because they lack the courage to be bad at them. We cling to what we already know, what we can already do well, because our pride fears the awkwardness of fumbling. Yet, hidden in that very awkwardness is the key to growth. To step into the unknown is to risk embarrassment, but it is also the only way to discover who you might yet become. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they wobble on uncertain legs. No one mocks the child for being clumsy, for we all understand this is part of the process. And yet, as adults, we forget this truth. We want to begin at mastery. We want the applause before the practice, the competence without the countless failures that forge it. But mastery is not born, it is built. Every painter once smeared colors without harmony. Every musician once struck the wrong notes more than the right ones. Every leader once spoke clumsily, unsure of their voice. The difference between those who remained ordinary and those who transcended was not talent alone, but the willingness to endure the stage of being bad long enough to reach the stage of being good. The fear of imperfection imprisons us in repetition. We repeat only what we already know, never stepping beyond the boundaries of comfort. This creates the illusion of safety, but it slowly starves the soul, for growth always lies beyond the edge of familiarity. To be brave enough to be bad is not to celebrate mediocrity, but to embrace humility. It is to say, I will allow myself to stumble, because stumbling is the price of learning. It is to choose curiosity over pride, discovery over stagnation. And here lies the paradox. The very moment you permit yourself to be bad, you open the door to becoming great, for only those who risk failure are ever capable of transformation. So let yourself be clumsy, awkward, uncertain. Enter the dance of learning with humility, for the courage to be bad is the seed from which all mastery grows. 12. It's you versus you. We spend much of our lives caught in the frenzy of comparison, measuring our worth against the achievements, possessions, or recognition of others. From childhood, we are trained to compete, grades in school, titles at work, status in society. And yet, beneath it all, life is not truly a race against others. It has always been you versus you. When you compare yourself to another, you are comparing different stories, different beginnings, different struggles unseen by the eye. A seed cannot envy the tree beside it, for each unfolds according to its own rhythm. To compare is to misunderstand the nature of growth. You do not need to outshine another. You need only to outgrow who you were yesterday. This is where the real battle lies, not in proving yourself to the world, but in meeting yourself with honesty. Can you confront your own excuses, your own laziness, your own fear? Can you silence the inner voice that whispers, "You are not enough," and replace it with the steady truth that growth is possible if you are willing to work for it? Ironically, when you stop obsessing over others, life becomes lighter. You no longer feel the pressure to match every success you see, nor the shame of every failure. Instead, you recognize that the only standard worth chasing is the one written by your own potential. Every day becomes a chance to ask, am I moving closer to the person I wish to be or drifting further away? This path demands discipline, but also compassion. For if it is you versus you, then you must learn to be both your challenger and your ally. Push yourself, yes, but also forgive yourself when you fall short. Growth is not a straight climb. It is a winding path, and every stumble is part of its design. In the end, the greatest victory is not standing taller than others, but standing taller than the version of yourself that once doubted, feared, or hesitated. For when you realize the real competition is within, you discover a strange freedom. There is no rush, no comparison, only the unfolding of your own becoming.